All right, let's talk Jimmy Garoppolo for a second. He certainly had an interesting career up until this point. You look at this is his PFF grades year in and year out, and where he ranked in years that he had enough snaps to qualify, which is, not the majority of them, because he has, took him a while to get significant playing time, and then once he did, he's had his injury issues. That stuff obviously stings, but when he has qualified, in the past 2 years, he's been a top 22 quarterback in football. He was the 13th best in 2019. That was the year that they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. He also posted the 4th best grade in football in 2017, albeit in a very small sample size, is about 5 games, so I wouldn't read too much into that. The bigger sample size certainly tells us that he's, I would say, a top 20 quarterback in football, but not a top 10 quarterback in football. That's kind of what you're getting. He's a solid starting quarterback who isn't necessarily going to go too much above and beyond. That's what the PFF grades say. But let's talk about the tape. And what does the tape say? The first thing is clearly that Garoppolo is very good at just running an offense. I know it seems simple. It's almost a cliche at this point that he's a good game manager. But you know what? There's a ton of value in managing a game, especially in a system like Kyle Shanahan's or in a system like Josh McDaniels, I would say, which aren't that dissimilar. Where, again, something like this is going to run a play action, then try to hit Deebo Samuel over the middle. So players over the middle get out of position due to the play action. You'll find bigger gaps in coverage. Garoppolo can hit one. Simple enough. Watch as when this play starts, you do see that they're, right now, for Deebo Samuel, how do you make this throw? It's interesting, right? Because if you make it right now, well, Bobby Wagner is kind of getting close to being right in front of him. You have to be wary of that. This is definitely a timing thing of not necessarily who do you throw it to, but more so when do you throw it to them is the more interesting question here. And Garoppolo is very good at timing this stuff well. Watch him time it perfectly to where it's in a gap in coverage. That allows Deebo Samuel to make a solid catch there and pick up a decent gain. So again, there's several ways you could go about discussing just this one play alone. On one hand, it's not the most difficult of plays. Garoppolo didn't break 3 tackles and then throw it left-handed to get a completion. No, I mean, he was standing in the pocket. The receiver got open the way he was supposed to, and Garoppolo made the play. But also, Garoppolo did a little bit of the little stuff that allowed that play to work. It's not a difficult throw to make, and it is one you expect your quarterback to make, but at the same time, quarterbacks don't always make the throws you expect them to make. Garoppolo, for the most part, does, and that's where a lot of his value comes in. Of course, going over here, one of the things that people are going to talk about with Garoppolo, I'm assuming, is going to be his, his stats, like certainly his passer rating is consistently very good. Career passer rating of 99.6, last year passer rating of 103. He, consistently does well there. Worth mentioning, though, every quarterback for the 49ers consistently does well there, and this is a play that will kind of explain why that's the case, where it's a pretty simple play. You're trying to hit, actually, fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who's running underneath. The receiver who's out wide is going to kind of clear stuff out. That's the way this play is supposed to work. Jimmy Garoppolo takes the snap, and he is going to hit Kyle Juszczyk, and then Juszczyk does the rest, and they're actually able to pick up, over 30 yards on that play. That's kind of why some of the stats can be inflated. Like, don't get me wrong, Garoppolo deserves credit for making the throw. He made the throw correctly. He did what he was supposed to do. That being said, it was one of those situations where it was a pretty easy play, and he ended up getting a good chunk play, really through not too much of his own doing. It wasn't really, when you talk about that play and who had the most value on that play, you'd probably go Shanahan 1, Kyle Juszczyk 2, and then I guess Garoppolo 3. It's not a negative. You don't hold it against him that he was in a good situation, but you just also understand that some stats are going to be inflated just because of that stuff. There are some negatives with Garoppolo's game. This one is a funny one, personally, I think, where one of the negatives with Garoppolo in general is, while he's really good when things are going well, I think when things go poorly, that's where it can get a bit off the rails. And this is an example where it's going to be a play action, and actually the running back is going to be the player that Garoppolo is eventually going to try and hit. Watch as when Garoppolo runs this play action, he looks towards the, his halfback on this play, as nothing else appears to be that open, as this play didn't really work out. And he's going to decide for some reason to make this throw when clearly it feels like the correct decision would be to throw the ball away. Garoppolo steps out of bounds, doesn't realize it, and throws what would have been a pick six. Luckily for him, it was not a pick six because he had stepped out of bounds, so that's kind of funny that, saved by accidentally stepping out of bounds. The reality is, though, the main reason I'm showing this play is, A, it's funny, and I like showing funny plays, but B, because I do think it highlights part of Garoppolo's game, which is he will make throws he shouldn't make. When things aren't open, he will still sometimes act like they are, and it can get him in trouble at times. Like, I think this one is a more traditional one, but also just another example of it where it's zone coverage. You see the route he wants to look towards. Again, on paper, it could get into a gap in coverage. I totally get it. Garoppolo takes the snap, and you are going to see that right here. Okay, again, you can kind of see why he's looking there, but there's other Denver players in the area, and it's a risky play. Garoppolo tries to fit it through that window. Anyway, it gets batted up and then eventually intercepted by the Denver Broncos. Just, again, a risky play there on that one. I understand why he made the throw, but definitely one that in hindsight he would like to have back. And this is just part of Garoppolo's game. He will make some WTF throws. He will. He's not someone who, while he has the game manager moniker, he's not someone who is a perfect game manager and doesn't turn the ball over. He will at times make some errors. Going over here, I was actually curious. I wanted to go back and watch some New England tape with him when he was, obviously with Josh McDaniels. That's how they know each other, going back to when Garoppolo was Tom Brady's backup. Garoppolo got 2 starts during Tom Brady's suspension, during the Deflategate suspension, and looked good in them, which is part of why he eventually got traded for a second-round pick. San Francisco traded for him, of course, back then. But, really, I was just curious in, okay, what happened there? Why was he able to do well? And really, it was kind of more of the same of what we've seen, which is he was in a good situation and was able to make the most of it. This play, it's going to be a man coverage play, and you have Julian Edelman, who one of the great things about doing this and going back to this play is I get to talk more about Julian Edelman and his great route running, which is always fun to talk about. Watch how when this play begins, you see, again, the stem portion of the route, they should teach that in wide receiver school. Of the beginning part of Edelman's route, he never gave anything away. He was so good at that, and watch how well he cuts here. Watch him cut to get so open, and, again, Garoppolo, to his credit, threw a very catchable ball and ran the offense well, right? That's pretty much what happened there as well. We didn't really learn any more. I didn't learn any new information other than, hey, it's fun to watch Julian Edelman, which I think I already knew. That's pretty much what happened there. Now, with the Raiders, are they a good situation? I would say so. You have Devontae Adams, okay, one of the best receivers in football. I think Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfrow definitely complete out that receiving core. Wish they still had Darren Waller. That would have made it even more fun, but it is a good situation, and I could see more of the same from Garoppolo, which is him continuing to have success being a game manager type. There's nothing wrong with that, and there certainly is value in it. And I think he probably will have a pretty good year with the Raiders. I think there's a fair question as to, well, what's the point of all of this? Are you going to win a championship doing this? And that I don't know. That would be definitely a lot more tricky, I think, with Jimmy Garoppolo. Although, worth mentioning, he has gone to a Super Bowl while getting paid, because Goff went to a Super Bowl, but he was on his rookie deal. That's different. Garoppolo was getting paid when he went to his Super Bowl, so it is possible, but obviously 49ers have kind of been an anomaly with how good they built their team around and how good that defense was that year, for example, whereas the Raiders certainly have a lot of work to do to catch up to where the 2019 49ers were, but maybe it's a start. So, I don't know. It's an interesting move, but yeah, those are my thoughts on Garoppolo and what he brings to the Raiders. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.